General Hospital spoilers reveal that the day that was meant to welcome Daisy into the arms of family, faith, and tradition has turned into a horrifying descent into chaos, bloodshed, and heartbreak. For weeks, the Corinthos family had been preparing for the christening, an event wrapped in joy, redemption, and hope for a new generation. Friends and loved ones gathered in their finest attire. The chapel adorned with white roses and golden ribbons, the mood celebratory and reverent. Little did anyone know that beneath the surface of this blessed occasion, darkness was quietly stirring. And when it finally erupted, it didn't just fracture the day, it shattered the very foundation of the Corinthos family in a way no one could have predicted. As the priest stepped forward to bless the child, and Sonny Corinthos stood near the altar, proud and emotional, holding back tears as he looked upon his grandchild, the unthinkable happened. A shot rang out, loud, piercing, final. The joyous music fell silent. Gasps broke through the chapel like shards of glass. Sonny collapsed mid-prayer. Blood blooming across his shirt like a crimson curse. For a split second, no one moved, shock paralyzed the room. Then chaos erupted. Carly screamed his name. Jason launched forward to cover Sonny's body, searching for the source of the bullet. Ava dropped her glass, her hand trembling as her eyes darted toward the shadows near the entrance. Christina instinctively shielded Molly. The guests began to scatter, panic mounting as the once safe church became a battleground. Security scrambled into motion. But the shooter, a figure clad in black with a face obscured by a mask, had already disappeared into the confusion, vanishing like smoke, leaving behind only silence, fear, and Sonny's motionless form on the cold marble floor. Paramedics were called. Sirens screamed through the city. But amid the frantic rush to save Sonny's life, another, even more chilling discovery was made: Daisy was gone. In the confusion following the assassination attempt, someone had taken advantage of the chaos to slip away with the infant. The baby's christening gown was found abandoned in the hallway, a single white shoe lying near the door. Her mother collapsed to the ground in hysterics, her cries echoing through the corridors. It took seconds to confirm what no one wanted to believe: Daisy had been kidnapped. The dual assault, the attempted murder of Sonny and the abduction of Daisy, sent shockwaves not just through the family but across all of Port Charles. This wasn't a random act of violence. This was a message. Someone had planned this down to the second, knowing the exact moment to strike, the precise emotional strings to pull. It was a move not just against Sonny but against everything and everyone he loved. Whoever was behind this attack wasn't just trying to end Sonny's life, they were trying to destroy his entire legacy. Erase the future he was trying to protect. The chapel was transformed into a crime scene. Bloodstains marked the floor where Sonny had stood. Police tape cordoned off the altar. Investigators moved quickly, questioning every guest, analyzing every angle, but answers were slow to come. The Corinthos family stood in the middle of it all, grief-stricken, enraged, and terrified. Carly, barely able to process what had happened, refused to leave Sonny's side at the hospital, clutching his bloody jacket like a lifeline. Jason, expression blank but eyes burning with fury, began making calls to every ally, every contact, every favor owed. Christina trembled with guilt, wondering if her own recent schemes had somehow placed her family in greater danger. And Michael, normally the calm strategist, was inconsolable, torn between staying at the hospital with Sonny and launching his own manhunt for the person who had taken his daughter. And yet, amidst all this suffering, the silence around the motive grew more deafening. Who would dare strike at the very heart of the Corinthos family, and why now? Theories began to multiply. Some believed it was an old rival, someone from Sonny's long list of enemies finally returning for vengeance. Others feared this was connected to the mysterious figure behind the recent attacks in Los Angeles and the penthouse bombing. Could it be the same enemy who had tried and failed to take Sonny out twice before? If so, then this third attempt wasn't just personal, it was strategic, calculated, and devastatingly effective. But a darker, more sinister theory emerged in the days that followed. What if Daisy wasn't just collateral damage? What if the kidnapping wasn't a side effect of the chaos, but the real goal all along? If someone wanted to hurt Sonny, killing him would suffice. But if someone wanted to break him, to torment him beyond repair, then stealing his granddaughter, ripping her from her family on the very day she was to be welcomed into their hearts, was the ultimate weapon. The sheer emotional toll of losing both his life and his legacy in one moment was beyond comprehension. As Sonny clung to life in the ICU, Daisy's fate hung in the balance. No ransom demand had been made. No message delivered. Just silence. And that silence was more terrifying than any threat. Without a trail to follow, the police were stumped. And as the hours turned to days, hope began to wane. The Corinthos family, once seen as untouchable, now stood shattered and vulnerable. But for Carly and Jason, giving up was never an option. Fueled by rage and desperation, they began working outside the system. Jason reached out to underground contacts, pulling strings from his old life. Carly called in favors she swore she'd never use again. Even Ava, normally on the fringes of the Corinthos inner circle, stepped forward, insisting on helping track down Daisy's abductor. The pain of watching Sonny bleed out in front of her and the horror of a stolen child pushed her to abandon her usual self-preservation instincts. Whatever tensions existed in the past. In this moment, they all had one common goal: bringing Daisy home and making whoever was responsible pay. Meanwhile, whispers of internal betrayal began to surface. Some questioned whether the shooter had inside help. Someone had to know the layout of the church, the security rotations, the timing of the ceremony. Was it someone within the family's trusted circle? Was this a calculated move from someone pretending to be an ally? The paranoia began to take root, threatening to divide the family further at a time when unity was crucial. The christening of Daisy, meant to be a moment of light, had descended into a nightmare of shadows. Sonny lay broken. Daisy lost to the unknown, and Port Charles shaken to its core. The consequences of that day will echo for months, perhaps years, changing lives, ending alliances, and forging new ones born in blood and fury. The Corinthos family is no stranger to tragedy, but never before has a single day so thoroughly ripped through their foundations. This wasn't just a failed christening. This was a declaration of war. And someone, somewhere, is watching it all burn, knowing exactly how deeply they've struck. The question now isn't just who did it, but how far they're willing to go next. Because the storm has only just begun. The rising tension in Port Charles is no longer confined to whispers in the shadows or strategic alliances behind closed doors. Now, it is boiling to the surface. And at the center of the storm is Sonny Corinthos. What was once just vague suspicion is transforming into a coordinated investigation, one that now involves not only the Port Charles Police Department, PCPD, but also the relentless Assistant District Attorney Justine Turner and the seasoned former WSB agent Anna Devane. Together, these two formidable forces are beginning to believe that the threat surrounding Sonny isn't just external, but perhaps rooted in his own increasingly reckless behavior. What started as precaution is evolving into something far more dangerous, a full-scale legal and criminal crackdown on Port Charles's most powerful figure. And with each passing hour, this situation is spiraling further out of control. Anna, with her deep intelligence background and long history navigating the gray waters between justice and compromise, is no stranger to Sonny's world. She's seen firsthand what he's capable of, both in terms of loyalty and violence. But lately, she's begun to notice cracks in his armor. Inconsistencies in his movements, and decisions that don't align with the calculated calm that once defined him. The events surrounding the penthouse explosion and the violent ambush in Los Angeles already raised red flags. But now, with the attempted assassination at Daisy's christening and the kidnapping of the infant herself, Anna is no longer content to view Sonny as a victim. She's starting to wonder if Sonny's choices, secrets, and enemies are putting everyone around him in increasing danger. ADA Justine Turner has been circling Sonny like a hawk since her first day in Port Charles. While past prosecutors have failed to bring him down, Turner is not intimidated by Sonny's reputation or his reach. She's methodical, composed, and calculating. And she has no interest in letting personal dynamics cloud her sense of justice. For weeks, Turner has been gathering evidence, reviewing surveillance footage, analyzing financial records, and speaking with informants. And with the new wave of violence culminating in a public shooting and a child's abduction, Turner's resolve has hardened. She doesn't just want to expose Sonny, she wants to dismantle the empire that has allowed him to operate above the law for decades. Now, with Anna and Turner both focused on Sonny. But from different angles, their overlapping suspicions are beginning to converge. Anna suspects there is more going on than Sonny is willing to admit, perhaps a secret enemy that Sonny refuses to name, or perhaps a reckless plan of his own that has now spun out of control. Turner, meanwhile, is convinced Sonny has crossed too many lines, that he's no longer simply protecting his family but actively endangering them. Both women, guided by entirely different motives, now find themselves on a path that could lead to Sonny's downfall. Meanwhile, the PCPD is intensifying its investigation. Witnesses from the christening have been brought in for questioning. Crime scene analysts are combing through every detail of the shooting. Ballistics, fingerprints, and surveillance footage are all being reviewed. But more than that. Detectives are reopening old case files, revisiting unsolved crimes with new perspective. The department, long criticized for its leniency towards Sonny, is now under immense pressure to deliver results. And as internal forces begin to shift, more officers are willing to speak up, to dig deeper, to pursue leads that were once considered too dangerous to touch. This growing legal and investigative pressure is triggering panic within Sonny's inner circle. Jason is scrambling to shield what he can, trying to keep operations quiet while Sonny recovers. Carly is furious, not just at the attackers, but at the increasing sense that Sonny's world is collapsing in on itself. Christina and Michael are growing paranoid, wondering who they can trust. And even allies like Ava and Dex are beginning to question how much longer they can stand in Sonny's shadow without becoming targets themselves. The truth is, the chaos that erupted at Daisy's christening was not just an isolated tragedy, it was the culmination of months, maybe years, of accumulating threats, lies, and unchecked power. Now, everything is converging. The PCPD is no longer sitting idle. Anna is no longer offering quiet warnings. Turner is no longer content with circumstantial evidence. And Sonny, once always 2 steps ahead, may finally be caught in a trap he cannot escape. This is no longer just about crime. This is about control, who holds it, who abuses it, and who's finally willing to take it back. Sonny's past is catching up with him, and the walls are closing in. What remains to be seen is whether he will fight back harder than ever, or whether this time, everything he built will come crashing down for good. Either way, Port Charles is on the brink. And the fallout could destroy far more than just Sonny. It could tear the entire city apart. The revelation strikes like a thunderclap through Port Charles, Jason and Carly, still reeling from the trauma of Sonny's shooting and Daisy's abduction on what was meant to be a day of joy, are left paralyzed by an unthinkable truth. Britt Westbourne, the woman long presumed to be either dead or lost in the shadows of her past, has not only resurfaced, but has returned as the architect of the Corinthos family's most devastating nightmare. The woman they once mourned is now exposed as the shooter who nearly killed Sonny in front of his family, and worse, the one who vanished into the chaos with baby Daisy in her arms. This isn't just betrayal. This is carnage cloaked in the guise of resurrection. And it marks a shift so violent, so emotionally cataclysmic, that it tears apart the very fabric of trust that has long held the Corinthos inner circle together. Jason, known for his composure even in the darkest moments, is visibly shaken. For years, he carried the guilt of Britt's disappearance, believed she had died as a casualty of chaos, a victim of the life he himself had led. He grieved her. He honored her memory. He tried to forgive himself for the secrets he never got to tell her, for the life they never had the chance to fully live. Now, that grief transforms into confusion, then rage. Then something deeper, horror. Because if Britt survived, if she's been alive all this time, why come back like this? Why now? And why with a gun pointed at Sonny? Carly, too, is devastated. She always had complicated feelings about Britt, but she never could have imagined her as the threat who nearly shattered their world. To think that the same hands which once held hope, friendship, and even compassion, especially in her later days before her disappearance, could also pull the trigger aimed at Sonny's heart and steal an innocent child in the chaos is a cruelty Carly can hardly process. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't feel real. And yet, the truth is undeniable. Britt planned it. Britt executed it. Britt is the one they've been hunting. The one they thought was gone forever, and she has returned not as the lost, misunderstood doctor, but as a vengeful storm cloaked in the pain of the past. The questions come in waves. How did she survive? Where has she been? And more terrifyingly, why would she do this? Theories begin to emerge like cracks in a dam. Some believe she faked her death long ago as part of a larger plan to disappear, perhaps forced into hiding by enemies or driven into madness by loss. Others suggest that Britt, perhaps manipulated or broken by forces unknown, became radicalized, transformed by bitterness, betrayal, and years of silence into someone unrecognizable. But whatever the reasons, her actions are clear. She orchestrated a plot not just to destroy Sonny, but to dismantle everything he represents. And by taking Daisy, she attacked the very symbol of hope, future, and innocence in the Corinthos family. The implications ripple outward with terrifying force. The PCPD is thrown into chaos, scrambling to piece together how they missed the signs. How a presumed dead woman could infiltrate one of the most secure events in Port Charles without detection. Anna Devane, who once counted Britt among her few tenuous allies, is gutted by the betrayal and furious with herself for not sensing the storm coming. ADA Justine Turner, already leading a legal siege against Sonny, now finds herself blindsided by a twist she could never have anticipated. And in the Corinthos household, fear takes root, deeper and more violent than ever before. With Daisy still missing and Britt on the run, the tension hits a boiling point. Jason launches into action, driven not just by duty, but by a personal torment that threatens to unmoor him. He knows Britt, her intellect, her precision, her emotional wounds. If she's gone this far, there's no telling how far she might go next. Every second counts. Every lead matters. But the most dangerous enemy is always the one who knows you intimately, and Britt knows every pressure point, every vulnerability, every scar Sonny's family bears. Carly, meanwhile, is forced to confront her own guilt. Had she missed something? Did she push Britt too far years ago when their rivalry was at its peak? Did Sonny's world chew Britt up and leave her with no choice but to strike back? These questions swirl, poisonous and unresolved, as Carly stands by Sonny's hospital bedside, vowing silently that no matter how deep Britt's betrayal runs, she will not let it destroy what's left of their family. But the truth is, everything has already changed. The Corinthos family, already bruised and battered, is now fractured in ways that may never fully heal. The image of Britt holding Daisy, disappearing into the night like a specter of vengeance, will haunt them forever. Trust is gone. Safety is an illusion. And the idea that any moment of joy, any sacred occasion like a christening, can be weaponized into trauma, has left scars deeper than bullets ever could. Port Charles is on edge. The streets buzz with rumors. The underground network begins to move, quietly taking sides, deciding whether Britt is a monster or a martyr. Some whisper that she's been wronged for too long, that her mind broke under the weight of abandonment and loss. Others say she's become something darker, something calculated and irredeemable. But for Jason and Carly, there is only one truth. She aimed to destroy their world, and she very nearly succeeded. Now begins a new war, not just to bring Daisy home, but to uncover the full truth behind Britt's transformation, to understand how love turned to hatred, how grief turned to vengeance. And until that truth is uncovered, there will be no peace. Because if Britt, of all people, is capable of this, then no one in Port Charles is truly safe, and the darkest chapter of their lives may have only just begun. The horrifying truth changes everything. Britt Westbourne, long believed to have turned against the Corinthos family, is not the cold-blooded assassin who shot Sonny or the calculating figure who abducted baby Daisy during the christening. She is a victim. Jason Morgan uncovers the devastating revelation that Britt is being controlled, manipulated through psychological coercion and advanced pharmaceutical conditioning by an unknown mastermind. This isn't a betrayal by choice. It's a hijacking of her mind and body, and it throws Jason into a desperate mission not to stop Britt, but to save her. The discovery begins with encrypted data found near the crime scene. With Spinelli's help, Jason traces it back to a covert facility where surveillance footage reveals Britt restrained and visibly terrified, her eyes empty yet pleading. It becomes clear, she's been programmed. Her will suppressed, her actions dictated by someone using her as a weapon against Sonny. The tragedy of Sonny's shooting and Daisy's kidnapping isn't just rooted in revenge, it's part of a calculated plan to destroy the Corinthos family from within, using their past connections and deepest emotions against them. For Jason, the realization is deeply personal. He once shared something real with Britt: love, guilt, the potential for a life they never had time to explore. To see her reduced to a puppet in someone else's scheme ignites not just his protective instincts, but a fire to uncover the truth and undo the damage. With Carly's support and help from his old allies, Jason tracks down the remote facility where Britt is being held. When he finds her, the sight is heartbreaking. Britt, though battered and drugged, still has the strength to whisper Jason's name. He pulls her into his arms, promising her it's not too late. They escape together, under fire, with Britt clinging to Jason and a fragile flicker of hope. But Daisy is still missing. The person behind this, someone who knew how to break them without pulling a single trigger, is still free. And Jason knows this is just the beginning. Now, with Britt safe but traumatized and Daisy still in danger, Jason must prepare for the next wave. He must help Britt heal, uncover the true identity of the puppet master, and stop them before they strike again. Because this enemy isn't just targeting lives, they're targeting identities, legacies, and the very soul of Port Charles. And if Jason fails, the fallout won't just cost him Britt or Daisy, it could dismantle everything he's ever fought to protect.